ñoo ñëw ak yéen rek skincare plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5 star jesna la 5 star jesna mooy jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee ñun rek si tube dara du doy day des not only dañoo tube but bu la neexee ñu tuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la. We're not all about skin. We are skin, care, and the plus does come in so many different ways.
No, ini bara.
Okay. Welcome. Basically, lot of lala me along is cool, man. That I can really relax.
What the madam?
Yeah, that's
what the madam?
Yeah.
Let them do somebody.
That's right.
Grand Villa.
Grand Villa.
That's fine.
Slowly. Yes. No.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people are basically me along because they relax. So the two things that I can understand.
Nina Fani say what? Nidia, Nena Grand Villa is the best guest house in the Gambia.
Beji andika Grand Villa Guest House. Na labungul bebe senyaring adum na bungul bebe nyarandiring coming ibe la fila ila suwe taranyame. Ntel Grand Villa na kiliano la lafino wale mukangwati ntel kang. Na ye sabati Grand Villa ye la kodo na fa kalamuta.
Oh man, this is like a paradise.
I know.
I so much love this place.
Thank you.
Trust me, I love this place.
You can move somebody and watching what?
Yeah.
I know what Gambia Grand Villa.
I tell you. I love this place. Okay.
Yes.
I love this place, man. Oh yeah.
ni lefta na ko keso sotola futamma Oljuntum Paradise Estate mbaya komandiro ke 7527218 wala futanna website oto www.grandvillaguesthouse.com. Grand Villa Guest House.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Yara nyilla domoro kadiyate
boy janno sikes restaurant
e sa nakko be ninna dimbal nimba domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de te ka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo pendin lon dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domola jangdama
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandin
e oto sa nakko be mu CKS restaurant
dafa nan janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CKS restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
na broda min ba Europe Mr. Conte nka bo wala kol kan sai na so ko na mano ban ta jabo ban ta tulo ban sai ka bo kol kan anda ka ba office ko na ba dama bulo mutarin ba ka ta simpla no ni kon batun ne ta ya kuriye ma ko duban tin ngata mano sani tulo ne ya mun da be tan la broda man balwo service kalam mun service balwo service ni da foron ta mo kalam mun da a fe la broda ko abitala internet ol aya ba site la woldo balwo.com na wo sajje a apo nga ba download la telephone ol na be sandiro to ni wal na be sidin ala office ko ndama manjar pour ay ta bank ko kodoki abe sidin office ko da minto ito message so ya telephone ko no e biti ko be Gambia dawda biti ko ba belo ko ta tano dawda yeta fen ko tawo wodama yala bari wo service na ta mo da han ata nyo le kan fijan na bro dan ka ko ata nyo lo ayo ko ti da
balwo service dinkirala jampo o manken na kolaya ko balwo service al demano kaje ko ale domor feŋol sang alla dimbaya molu ana la kanuntewol wato bela ani wat sudum fanan kono balwo service la dinkiralu ani la do kunyolu e be banko karo beto kabirin katon fo koyna nalla fa ko ku koton so balwo service la kolto ali commandi telephone line la milbuko 9400213 7694319 wala 3192870 wala hankabi alta internet oto alila kolu jibe www.baluwo.com.
Do you live abroad and want to build your dream home in the Gambia without risking your funds and family ties? Do you want a household name that is trustworthy and efficient? A name that will continue to give you updates on the project from the beginning to the very end with videos and pictures? If your answer is yes, then worry no more. Boss Construction and Asset Management is here for you. If you live outside the Gambia and want to build your dream home, then this is ideal for you. Just reach out to Boss Construction and let's start building the dream home into a reality. With Boss Construction, the difference is clear. We give you value for money. Some of our services includes the following: construction management, building equipment rentals, rent management, purchase and leasing, asset management, and many more. For more information, please contact 282-4945. Better still, send us an email, bossgambia@gmail.com, or you can also visit our website on www.bossgambia.com. Boss Construction, a name you can trust. Boss Construction and Asset Management, keeping families together.
Hello and welcome to the brunch on Kerfatu. I'm Lamin Cham, and welcome to all of you watching us from wherever you may be, both at home and abroad. This week our major topic, of course, is the budget. Now, the Minister for Finance, Nyang Njie, presented the budget for the coming year before National Assembly members who have since started debating it. We too will do our own debates here in the studio with our experts, our subject specialist, so to speak. Nyang Njie, an economist, is with us, and he will take us through perhaps to all the salient points we hope we can cover within this 1 hour. And together with him is Mustafa Kedabo of Kerfatu, who also has a special eye for matters financial and not just political. Right, welcome, gentlemen. The minister said this was going to be a budget that he thinks his government really will use to address the many concerns, social and economic ills that you and I and the man in the street have been complaining about. Before I go in, let me ask the two of you, do you agree that this is a budget that the Gambia at this point really can use to address the many ailments that people have been crying about? Mustafa?
So I think Nyang would first pick that
I'll
up.
come to
so
Nyang because he will
take care
come to
of
the
remnants because he's the boss.
He will come to Nyang will deal with the grainy matters. Let me talk with you. What was your impression?
So my impression, I mean, even before the budget comes, I was looking at some few things. I was looking at how much revenue would we get from extractives industry, because that personally as a journalist interested me. I was also looking for whether the Banjul project will be paid, the first installment. Remember the minister told us that the payment plan is going to be, it's being reviewed. Instead of 6 years, it will be 10 years.
Yes.
And now it appears that every information the minister gave us in that interview, it's actually not true. Because it's by indications that we've seen in the budget, it's going to be paid, and if you divide 300 million plus into 6 years, you would have exactly the amount of the money that is going to go into that project. So it's been paid in 6 years.
Okay.
So there are quite a few things I was also looking for, such as the debt, the public debt, because
Yes.
this concerns all of us.
Exactly.
The deficit in the budget and things like
Etc.
that. I don't think it's not impressive when there are concerns even by lawmakers even before they start the debate. And it would be interesting to see them deliberate on the issue coming next week.
Yes, Mr. Nyang Njie.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and good afternoon, good morning, viewers, depending on what time zone you're in this world.
Especially under the British Empire, the sun doesn't set there. So.
Exactly. Anyway, Budget 2020 is a serious cause for concern. Why? In a developing country, budgets generally must be pro-poor because they are the bulk of the population.
They must be for the generality of the people, the poor people.
Yeah, I mean, we always tend to believe that budget must be, pro-poor oriented. And for me, this budget is highly expansionary, and there are causes for concerns. And one, like he mentioned, the development vote for the Ministry of Works. We really need to look into that critically. And when I say we, the Parliament.
Is it too big, or there are certain things that are not explained?
Well, fundamentally, I am of the view that what is wrong, and we shouldn't use alternate remedies to resolve it.
I see. Okay.
The Banjul Rehabilitation Project is a noble cause for the country, considering that that's our seat of power.
Exactly.
But it needs due diligence and due process for it to be accepted by the masses. $35 million is not child's play.
Absolutely.
Especially if it has to be financed by debt. It means we are going to pay, our kids are going to pay, and maybe our grandkids are going to pay, because in the short term, the contractor is going to get his money in 5 to 6 years.
Yes.
But that 5 to 6 years that we have paid, we have contracted debt, mostly domestically,
to pay them,
by way of T-bills to pay. So that adds to our debt stock, and that becomes of a burden to an already distressed debt environment that this country suffers.
So what will happen if we must have to build the roads? How differently could it have been handled?
The roads are a must. The drains are a must.
Yes.
The sewage is a must. But in so doing, government needs to plan. And in planning, we can finance these things. Today, we all know that we have National Road Authority, even though those roads, most of them are municipal roads. It's not under their purview.
Exactly.
But the Roads Authority, because we have gotten away with what you call road tax.
Tax, okay.
Since vehicles, people using cars no longer pay road tax, now there is a levy inbuilt in the price per liter of fuel at the pump. Whenever you buy fuel, diesel, petrol, you name it, there is an amount that is inbuilt in there for roads.
So you mean the next season, vehicles owners will not have to pay tax for road tax?
You have what you call direct and indirect.
Direct and indirect.
Road tax, the sticker we used to have. We use on the car. We used to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and the police. We pay, and they gave us the sticker.
And we put a sticker on it.
And that's a one-off.
Wow.
But now imagine if that was costing you $800 for 12 months.
$1,000 for most people.
$1,000 is for 12 months. Today, you're paying per liter. Whenever you take your car to the filling station and you buy 10 liters, for example, the government is getting whatever factor times 10 liters. So at the end of the year, your car would have consumed 2,800 liters. So instead of collecting $1,000, they may end up collecting 3,700 from you. But it's incremental, so you're not feeling it.
And they're not feeling it.
But, well, they are feeling it because they're getting a nice cozy pie. But that pie, how are they using it? But back to the issue of Banjul. Banjul needs to be fixed. But we want competitive bidding.
Exactly.
And proper procurement procedures. But we are talking about the budget here. And in the development budget for Ministry of Works, we have seen an allocation. They're not saying specifically that they're going to use this for Banjul. But even Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles, the blind man, can tell that $330 million is inbuilt.
That is the budget they set for Ministry of Works.
Well, inbuilt into the capital expenditure or the development budget of the Ministry of Works, we know exactly where it's going because it's literally mirror fits the payment plan
For
that the
Banjul
road
project.
rehabilitation project for Banjul has. So it's just not
So we
technical.
are paying, in other words, the public is paying for what has been said, that the contractor would pre-finance for it. Eventually we have to pay for all. But what is wrong in this?
There is nothing wrong with a pre-finance arrangement, otherwise called EPC.
Yeah.
It's all well and good, but here is the caveat. If government wants to pre-finance a project, first, government needs to study the project and know for themselves how much it will cost to do such a job.
Okay.
Then they'll advertise and invite would-be companies who are willing to take their own monies or source for their own funding, do the job based on terms and conditions agreed and accepted by the contracting parties, the government and the contractor.
Okay.
But in this case, it was a single source arrangement. And the amounts are colossal.
Right.
But not,
35 million.
but not only that,
Yeah.
governments need to plan their capital outlay. This is a capital outlay. Government needs to plan capital outlays. And this outlay, I haven't seen the plan. When I say I haven't seen the plan, last year, year before last, government needs to have a framework and say, we need such funds to do such projects. Noble cause, the project is very noble, but the arrangement that we have used to date to finance that project, I think it's not best practice globally.
So Mustafa, 340, what is it again? 340 something million dollars of ministry folks. You too believe that they've managed to sneak in the Banjul Road project in there?
Actually, the minister, in fact, said it clearly that part of the payment, part of the budget is the payment of the Banjul rehabilitation project. He actually stated clearly. So clearly, it's in the budget, and that's the amount. I know, here are a few things that are worrying.
Yeah.
One, budget is not just a document; it's a law. It's a legal document.
Yes.
You take it to
So
the
that's what the
Assembly,
parliamentarians are
they
gonna do,
approve this spending for the government.
It become law.
So any document that is not legal, any contract that did not follow a legal procedure, it's an illegal contract. Cannot be in a legal document. That's one. Two, the payment. This is a pre-financing, and we know the basic rule of a pre-financing project is for you to give me the contract, I do the work. When I'm done, you come give you my money. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how it's done.
Yeah.
But in this one, we are paying less than 1 year into the project, right? I'm saying less than 1 fiscal year.
Yes.
Into the project.
For the project.
Not, because if you said, oh, we started in 2019, because it started in 2019.
Yes.
It was launched in February 2019.
Yeah.
So we are paying less than 1 fiscal year into the project.
Into the project,
right?
yes.
But the problem is the amount of money
Money
that,
is allocated,
that we are going to pay.
Pay now.
Who tells the people that, in fact, that worth of work had been done?
So
Who
you mean-
assesses that?
So you mean?
Well, I think there are consultants on the ground now.
The Studi International.
But the problem is not the consultants. All right, I'll say one thing.
Yeah.
In public infrastructure projects, we normally use a document guided by what you call FIDIC, F-I-D-I-C. FIDIC is the body that has done considerable work on this, and if we follow the due process of the FIDIC rules, we will not have an issue. On the issue of pre-financing, there is what you call grace period and tenure.
Exactly.
You can choose to have a grace period of 24 hours. You can choose to have a grace period of 5 years. Say, I will do this work.
Was it not 1 year in this case, or 5 years?
No, it's not up to 1 year.
No, he is saying that the work started in February.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe government is provisioning this money, but it doesn't mean they're going to pay for it in January or March.
Or one-off.
And I'm sure, most likely, it's not going to be a one-off payment because once the appropriation bill passes, not all the funds are on the lock and key to be spent. They're coming incrementally over a period. So most likely, he will equally also get incremental payments over a period of 12 months. But the issue here, once again, on the Banjul project, I always tell people, it's noble that we're fixing Banjul, but you cannot fix Banjul backwards. You have to fix Banjul forward. And fixing Banjul forward needs 3 fundamental things. One, a master plan. What would we love to see 25 years from now for Banjul to be? Secondly, we need zoning laws for Banjul so that we can move the warehouses that are already in residential areas, the Primate Streets, the Perseverance Street, which have been turned into warehousing. To have a zoning law whereby they move all of these things from the residential areas. Then the next thing is fix the sewage first, because the sewage is under the road. Today, if you pour concrete on the road and you happen to have a pipe that has an issue, you have to break that concrete again. And the works, the title of the work said, Banjul Rehabilitation Project, Sewage, Drainage and Roads. So one would have thought that you will completely finish the sewage network, test it, make sure it's up and running before you start pouring concrete on the ground. Should in case you have issues with some of your pipes. We don't know.
And you're going to dig it up, as we often see here and there all the time.
But
Good.
anyway.
Oh, so that is the Ministry of Works. I'm afraid we have already plunged into the salient points with the ministry. That is the Banjul Works. So you still have one more there before I move to another item?
We just couldn't help it, I guess.
we couldn't help.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I think also, I mean, one significant thing is how much money we're going to spend compared to how much we have.
Exactly.
Now, as Nyan said, I mean, the seat of power, it's a very important place.
Yeah.
But are we that desperate that we need to go in for an arrangement that would even widen our deficit further? If you have a financing gap that's left in your budget of over $5 billion, let's say almost $6 billion.
Yeah. 5.6 billion is a water.
So do you need to do so much? Do you need to be that desperate?
Okay, let's go to the point. Let's go to the point straight. The budget is recommending, proposing an increment by $31 million on the office of the president. Supposedly because they might have to create new positions like presidential advisors. Is that justified?
Well, there is a legal aspect. There's a legal aspect and there is a moral aspect.
Okay, let's
The
go.
legal aspect is the president is free to set up offices and hire advisors. But I think morally, he is obliged to look at our fiscal environment and see the sustainability. Can this country accommodate this? We are trying to streamline bureaucracy. We are trying to streamline government. We want a civil service reform. So everything we are talking is downward spiral, trying to reduce. So consequently, the president's actions and decisions must equally be in line with the preaching that he has been preaching to the Gambian choir, that the Gambia needs to revisit its public expenditure framework in its entirety. And in so doing, there shouldn't be any sacrificial lamb. Everyone needs to swallow the bitter pill, including the office of the president. Having said that, I think what we need now is for the government, if not our parliamentarians, to help the country come up with a new Public Finance Act. And this Public Finance Act will clearly spell out not only the budget process, and equally will not only make the budget process participatory bottom up, but will have ceilings. And these ceilings will literally tie the hands for the people who are encroaching and expanding the fiscal space.
Right. Mustafa, what was your observations? The president said, well, the government said they want $31 million more for office of the president, preferably or probably going to pay offices of new presidential advisors. We already have how many? We have one for politics, one for religion.
We have 4 already.
4.
For
youths. Is it not more than 4?
But there are assistant advisors as well.
All right.
And some other.
Do we need this? Well, Nyang has said legally the president can go ahead and create offices for advisors. He can have advisors even for people who might look at his food or something like that. But do we need them? Do we need to spend so much money in them? In our present circumstances.
If you listen to government officials, even at the time in 2017 when we came and we were debating about the reforms that ought to be done, you remember the famous vehicle policy days, when
Exactly.
the debate was very much on government spending, and how to cut up on the government spending. One issue that also was very prominent was the issue of reducing the wage bill.
Yeah.
Because the government right now pays a salary of almost about $3 billion. Like personal emolument salaries and all these pardons and all these small monies, that goes into salary and it's about $3 billion. So the question is, do you devise means to reduce that, or do you devise means to increase it?
Well, 31 million, of course, is
even if you are
calling for,
so even if you are will to increase those, but can you accommodate it? Can your pocket cater for it?
Okay.
Then this is the problem. If you look at Gambia's pocket, the money there is exhausted. If Gambia is a business right now, it's not
collapse.
Well, basically, what he has said, it's not only a fact, but sometimes history repeats itself. In the early turn of this century, around 2001, the Gambia has what you call fiscal dominance. The fiscal space was bloated. Our debt to GDP ratio was this much. Our exchange rate, the same. Government expenditures untamed. But leadership at the Ministry of Finance then, under the able Famara Jatta of blessed memory, decided, look, we will suspend the budget as it is, and we will go into what you call a cash budget management system. Meaning, we will now have what you call a National Emergency Finance Committee called NEFCOM. NEFCOM will only spend what the government generates in taxes.
I see.
And this went on for over almost a year and a half, until things stabilized. But not only that, then the World Bank were doing the HIPIC projects. That's the Highly Indebted Poor Country Initiative. So HIPIC Round 1 and HIPIC Round 2, Gambia was fortunate to get most of our debt written off. And Kairaba Hotel was one of these hotels that we owe to Norwegians. Yes. So now what happened then? Our fiscal space got a little bit more money so that we can now spend a little bit more on social sectors, infrastructure. But unfortunately, we have now released this animal again called fiscal dominance, and it has taken over the space. And now we need to go back to taming this animal, and taming this animal comes with sacrifice, starting at the office of the president to the farmer up country. But it has to be a collective endeavor where everyone feels this pinch, and that's why this budget is not pro-poor, and it needs a revisit, and it's only Parliament who can help tame the expansion that we see in this budget.
So look at all the various boardings on the budget. Let's just leave salary a bit and go to even the SOEs, the state-owned enterprises. And look at the burden NAWEC, GAMTEL, GAMCEL, all of these institutions are putting on the budget. I'm not an economist, but if you even the World Bank reports are out on what Gambia, GAMCEL, you know that GAMTEL's losses in the past 2 years, it's just about $300 million. It's huge amount of losses. Like these are not businesses because they are not giving you anything. Like if they are as troubling in their fiscal situation as the state.
Exactly.
You understand? Now, if you are in an emergency situation, like say for instance you have a container and it's full. You can't put so much water in it again. You have to remove a little bit of water to be able to refill it again. So if like the fiscal the debt is so much that we are struggling to pay that. And the deficit, which is the money we are spending that we don't have, I think that's what the easiest explanation of the deficit is.
Well, you're right.
Spending the money you don't have.
You are right, but I think the Ministry of Finance need to be a little bit more proactive in handling the fiscal environment. How? We all know that we live within a distressed debt environment, meaning the debt burden of this country. It's almost 40%.
Okay.
Meaning every $1 of taxes collected, before we spend anything, we are statutorily obligated to pay 40% towards monies that we've borrowed. Because if you borrow, you must carry.
Absolutely.
You have to pay it.
Yes.
So what can we do? What we can do in the short term is called debt restructuring.
Yeah.
And in debt restructuring, the Ministry of Finance, in conjunction and collaboration with the central bank, need to come up with new debt instruments. Okay. Instead of T-bills, we start working with bonds. So you can have a 5-year bond. What that 5-year bond does, it allows government to have a breathing space to pay the debtor who we are owing 5 years down the line instead of 12 months. So 60 months instead of 12. But it doesn't give us the license to spend. It gives us the license to start saving and curtailing. So once we do that, we can reduce the debt burden of the country in the short to medium term. But the government needs to have a budget that is responsive to the very environment that we are living in today, economically.
And that certainly is not this budget.
Exactly.
Yeah, look at the responsive nature. Look at, if you really want to know we are in trouble, if you want to know we're in trouble, you look at, like, even if you don't need to be an economist to see that. You could see that we not, if we are a business, for instance, you would say we are not making profit.
Yeah.
But we are also indebted. But the amount of money we also spend, we are not spending on businesses that will generate profit. Exactly. So you see the problem.
Yeah.
You are in debt, you are still taking more loan, but this loan is not also going into something that's so productive that it's going to even repay itself. So you
are just entangling.
Yeah, but Mustafa, I mean, I think there is one thing we fundamentally need to first agree. Yeah. Government should not be in the business of business, meaning governments and businesses don't mix. Government should create environments for businesses to thrive. Today, the private sector has really occupied the telecommunication space. So why should we, the tax-paying Gambian, own a company that's not doing well? Let's spin it off and sell it.
Like Gamtel.
Exactly.
But that's a controversial issue. So many people are against the idea.
Well, people are against it because it's a political decision also. The political decision is the politicians, for the longest, since Jawara days, have used public enterprises and government as an employer of first resort rather than an employer of last resort. This has made our public enterprises to be highly bloated, and you know, it didn't justify, their existence doesn't justify the type of revenue they made. But we are at a point in time today, we don't need a government-backed telecommunication company. I know this is controversial, but it's a fact. So we need to revisit this.
So and regarding that, I mean, in not long ago, and the World Bank did a study that's currently with the government. In fact, they gave it to the Minister of Information, I think, last month. They were asking Gambia government to privatize Gamcel, and because they said they could keep Gamtel as sort of and change it in the form of a policy institution, like an institution that will come out with telecommunication policies and things like that. But they have to sell Gamcel because Gamcel is a burden on taxpayers. It's like NAVEC or any other SOEs we have. But the problem also is that it's not quite easy to sell of a company that's operating on losses. Because if I inherit a company, if I go to Nyang Njie and say, look, I'm acting for an economist advice to buy this company, he's going to say, oh, let me find out what their liabilities are. And yeah, I mean, if you know what the liabilities are, then you always say, oh, okay, so if I inherit this, I inherit all their liabilities. And obviously, any economist will tell you, look, can you go and find another investment strategy?
Precisely.
Yeah. So this is another problem. I mean, but also you have a bigger one, which is the lack of a commitment, because development is a very tough thing to decide. Like, for instance, how do you decide sending some people home and keeping fewer people? That's a very tough call.
That's a tough call.
So, and it needs...
And isn't that not the problem now?
Actually, it's not a tough call. There is what you call deadweight cost.
You mentioned the political will has to be there, because Every politician doesn't want to conduct redundancies.
Yeah, but you see, the political will must be justified by the economic rationale. And the economic rationale today is saying Gamcel has what you call excess deadweight cost.
Why?
The deadweight cost is, if you look at a position today, the number of people manning those positions, are they fit for the revenue that is coming in? So it needs rationalization. So with this rationalization, you will cut off the deadweight cost. And once you cut off the deadweight cost, companies start becoming more efficient. Once they become more efficient, they're more profitable. So it's a good thing we go through this.
But it means less and less people work in there.
No.
What is it?
We have gone through this during the structural adjustment programs in the 80s, and Gambia came out a better country. And we had today entrepreneurs who are doing well, who have been retrenched.
And
they didn't come back. They find another space within the economy that they will survive. Today, if the government is to go through a retrenchment exercise, they can retrench all the messengers, all the cleaners. But guess what? They can now allow the private sector, the UPSs, to be doing courier service for government. And those companies will now hire the ex-messengers in government. The cleaning companies equally will hire the former cleaners because the service needs to be done, but you shift it to the private sector.
So they don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are sending thousands of people jobless.
No.
Let's move on. Talking about it, it's similar and it's related
So
to this
let
one.
me read you something from the World Bank report. This is a very recent one. It's less than 1 month. It's saying even with international voice gateway subsidy, Gamtel and Gamcel had lost nearly 8.5 million
US dollars
in 2017. And without the subsidy, Gamtel and Gamcel would have lost over 379 million US dollars in 2017.
And what is causing that? Because they have lost
$379 million.
Dollars, yes. $379 million.
So what is causing that? Because they are overstaffed or what?
I mean, like all the SOEs are overstaffed, they're highly inefficient, they have a huge debt burden, they're not viable businesses. I mean, this how to call it, this state of affairs can be traced back 10 years, 15 years ago.
Yes, but still, you see, in the free enterprise world where I operate and live in liberal economies, we say that a business has a right to live and a right to die. The choices that they take during their business processes determines whether they have to live or they have to die. And the decisions that most of our state-owned enterprises have taken means that they have to die and we need to kill them.
And we haven't killed them.
And we don't want to kill them politically.
That's the problem now.
I doubt if Barrow has the guts to strangle Gamtel.
All right. A related matter is the Ministry of Defense. We have been told that the government is proposing, asking for money that will be about $1.7 billion. And all this against, a policy to reform the security. Aren't we expecting that perhaps with that reform, the budget for the defense will come down?
Well, I think, in public finance, we say government has diverse and divergent priorities. But amongst its diverse and divergent priorities, we need to reprioritize our priorities because they're competing in nature. Now the government of the Gambia has shown us that education is not that of a priority. Why? Because our tax-earned monies, what is going into education are very insignificant because there's a lot of donor contribution towards it. But the government is clearly showing us that defense is a top priority. Who are they defending us against?
Themselves.
We don't know.
Maybe themselves.
So therefore, we, the population, are saying we want security service reform to come, but the view we have of security service reform is not right-sizing, but severely downsizing. Because Gambia has a natural geographic advantage that gives us a natural defense. Gambia is very similar to Swaziland. Swaziland is a landlocked country, basically engulfed by South Africa, so they tend to have a natural defense. Gambia equally, 80% of our land is surrounded by one country. So our biggest vulnerability is the ocean, less than 80 kilometers at tops. So that calls for a robust navy, a good field force, and a small air force to police the coastal front on an aerial view. If we do that, I think we will cut significantly our defense cost, because the defense cost we have today was inherited by the Gambia to self-perpetuate Yaya Jammeh. So the logic is kill it.
The government so far has been reluctant to do that, because only the other day Dr. Kajigo has been arguing that they want to find a back way of avoiding the redundancy by creating what they call agricultural something for the army, deploying to the army. He was very critical of that.
So there are a lot of...
Why is it so difficult or sensitive for the government to reduce the defense and the main uniform?
It's actually not sensitive. You see, I'll give you an example.
So why is it reluctant?
Yesterday I was with a particular police officer who were having I was doing attire and he came sat by me and we were discussing. And I asked him, do you think if there is a particular fund for the police and the security services generally, to access up to between $150,000 to $200,000 is to go start a business or do something, do you think they will take it? And he jumped and said, well, I would resign. I would not even ask. You know, so for instance, there are a lot of people who are arguing, instead of us, because the government's position is, oh, these people are well trained, you can't send soldiers home like that. But you forget that when you are paying salaries, the recurrent expenditure that you do every year, right? And any economist will advise you that when you make this one bulk payment that you are scared of making, say you save $300 million for one-off payment, let's say the money we're giving on the banjo, you save that for anybody who leave the army and other security services, but it's going to be a one-off payment, you know that. It's not something that's going to be paid over a period of time.
It has been said.
Obviously, you will have incredible number of people who will leave the force. And what that does is that they leave the force and they go create a job. Or even if they cannot create a job, but they create a business that will give you some more money in return in form of taxes.
It happened in the 80s with ARP.
So it's not a wash, it's not something to be afraid of. It's just something to think creatively your way out of and engage people who understand economies. I'm certainly a journalist, not an economist. But certainly, if you have the right
doing that.
Well, the problem, you see, government is a collective. The leadership of this country is an individual. But the government must help advise this individual, the president, adequately and properly to do the right thing. But equally, it falls on him and him squarely, because December 1st, when we were all out in that hot sun, we voted for one person. If it goes well, we'll clap for him. If it goes bad, we yell at him. Therefore, he should take the mantle of leadership seriously and collectively lead us into swallowing that bitter pill of reform, reorganization, and rebuilding this country that has been brought down to tatters for the simple fact of perpetuating Yaya Jammeh.
So we are going to spend
Look at the numbers. If you look at the numbers, I was talking to one gentleman the other time. You look at police, immigration, army, we have about 17,000.
Somebody said here
17,000 plus. Army, it's about 6,700. Soldiers,
all of them
foot
together,
soldiers.
17,000.
Yeah. So the question is, do we
even have 17,000 teachers? Do we?
And they're still hiring. But these are sectors that takes the money. They are not sectors that gives money. This is the problem. Now, do we create more sectors that gives money or more sectors that takes money? So economists that have come out, 2016, I think the loudest voices in 2017 were all economists. But people who are saying the economy is on a life support and we need to do something to resuscitate it. This were the voices. They came up with several plans.
Is any of this money going to, it's not been said, to maintain economic?
No.
Because the international,
economic.
we know that the international community, been for ECOWAS and EU, for example, will at some point
withdraw. But economic was initially deployed on self-sustenance basis.
Yeah.
It was only later that the EU came in. So Nigeria, their first deployment, they paid for it. Ghana, they paid for it. Senegal, they paid for it.
When will the Gambia?
It was only later that the EU came in.
Would the Gambia be able to pay for it?
But we should not.
We should not.
We should not. You see, economic was an ad hoc arrangement. The ad hoc arrangement, and that's why we have missed the boat. Because post December 1st, what we should have been doing is to then have a robust security sector reform to make sure that our men in uniform are fit for purpose to defend the territorial integrity of this country.
Yes.
But you know what? We are all living on borrowed time because our security now has been leveraged and outsourced to outsiders.
If they leave.
And it has happened in the Gambia during the Confederation when Abdou Diouf decided to call his men to cross the border at an instant. We should not allow that because that can draw us back. But notwithstanding, I think the budget now, the government needs to be serious. And when I say serious, we are doing one thing. We are living on the lives of Gambians yet unborn to sustain our current national lifestyles.
Which is bad.
And that is bad. Therefore, we expect the leadership of this country, from the Ministry of Finance, from the Parliament, from the executive, to jointly give us a budget that is not only pro-poor, but responsive to the needs of Gambians.
And I think, you see what's sad is that, I mean, I'm reminded by the point that Nyang just made. Is that when the finance ministers are bringing these loans to the National Assembly, one thing they took pride in saying is that this is a highly constitutional loan. I think that means it gives us a lot of space for us to pay. I mean, why would you take pride in the fact that you are taking a loan that you are not going to be able to pay? It's your grandchildren or your children who are going to pay. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, but another thing that this government need to start in building so that in the medium term we will wean ourselves off as a country. You look at Rwanda, you look at Ghana, they've all set targets to reduce donor support into their operational budgets. Meaning they want to be self-sustaining. And that gives dignity to a country. That means you have the right to say how you want to live. But if I give you, you give me a stake in your life. So today, I think we can have a 7 to a 10-year plan. And that's why budgets is just not for the fiscal year 2019-2020. Budget should have what you call an MTEF, medium-term expenditure framework, over a horizon of 10 to 12 years. And in this medium term, you have year in, year out budgets to meet some of these targets you have in the medium term. And in the medium term, we need to change our position of a beggar to a position of an adult taking care of his household within his own resource envelope, what we have. Then that thing, I think it will add dignity to the Gambians and people will take us seriously as a nation and help us.
Exactly. Now let's move on to health, agriculture. Agriculture, it's been said that this budget is saying 394 million, which accounts for just 1.7 of the total government revenue. Agriculture, one would have thought that agriculture is where the largest sum of the money should go to. Or is it because government is hoping that it will again continue to rely on grants and all other funds that come from overseas? I mean, since we were kids, we heard of development plans in agriculture, RDP, now LADEP, FASTEP, IFAD, whatever terminologies have been gone. We still import food. But the government is saying 394.
We don't just import food. We import the most staple food, like what we all rely on.
But 394 million. Doesn't that sound?
So the problem is the dynamics within the Gambian economy have changed. Like there were times when we said the highest employer in the country used to be agriculture, 70%, right?
Yep.
That has gone down to 41%, and the service sector are taking over So the dynamics have changed. Agriculture employs about 71% or 41% of the population. But the point you're trying to make is very crucial, and let's just narrow it down to, say, rice production. You know that we invest a minimum of $50 million on rice importation, on importation of rice. So the amount of rice we consume in the Gambia is about 200,000 tons.
Yeah.
And the amount of rice we import, we cultivate, produce in the Gambia, it's about 43,000 tons. The highest was in 2017, 46,000 tons.
Wow.
Right? So you look at the consumption production gap, and we are spending $50 million to fill this.
60 tons.
Yeah. So we're spending $50 million so you can say safely that if Gambia had created an economy that is able to produce rice within the country, we're able to save $50 million, for instance.
So
right?
how and why did this elude us from independence?
No, I think, once again, we are talking about a budget. But see, budget is the end game. Budget is basically the end game. And the most important thing are the policies around the macroeconomic environment of the country. Today, we are talking about agriculture. And we all know the farmers in Gambia are poorer today than they were in 1965.
Absolutely.
There is no longer dignity in farming as it once was.
Yes.
Hence, the reason the offsprings of farmers have decided to leave the rural space and come to the urban space, because there is no hope for them.
Yeah.
We now do hope to change this. What we need to do is very simple. Gambia has two fundamental advantages that can change the lives and livelihood of Gambians. One is called geo-proximity. Where God has endowed us to be in this world has geographically located us in the center of two major sprawling areas in the world. One is North America, the other one is Western Europe. Kenya provides 80% of the flowers that are sold in Western Europe during the winter months. And the flights from Kenya to the nearest point in Western Europe is about 9 to 11 hours, thereabout.
Yeah.
Gambia, 4 hours, 20 minutes to Las Palmas. Why? And we have the favorable weather to provide roses, chrysanthemums, the flowers that they need in wedding parlors, funeral parlors, and you name it. And these are high-value produce. Why is it that our agriculture is not gearing towards that?
So you mean diversification?
Diversification, but not only diversification. Sustainable diversification that moves us into high-value productivity. Secondly, yesterday you all have seen the United States Congress passing a bill at the committee level to decriminalize and legalize marijuana. And when we say this, a lot of Gambians are scared. And we're not talking about smoking of marijuana, but the cultivation of marijuana for medicinal use, but for exports. 1 ton of marijuana will give an average Gambian farmer nothing less than $85,000.
Well, wouldn't that create chaos and tunnels?
No. Here is the deal. Here is the deal. Today, if a farmer, because you're now transforming that farmer from poverty to middle income overnight.
Are you calling for legalization of the growing marijuana?
No, I am not talking about recreational marijuana, medicinal use of marijuana. So what does that mean?
Who will know the difference?
Can I tell you one simple example? Jinak is a closed environment, right or wrong?
Yes.
Whether government likes it or not, they're still growing marijuana and selling it underground. Today, why don't they make that place an export hub? People grow high-grade marijuana, packaged there, controlled by the customs, and air freighted out.
Well, we have to be legislative to legalize it.
Yeah, of course. But you will have to first think about it before you
we need to be progressive.
Yeah.
And it's this progressivity that we don't have as people. And today, the whole world is moving towards decriminalizing and legalizing marijuana. Not that they want people to smoke it, but the pharmaceuticals are demanding that they need raw inputs. And the world is providing and producing. Ethiopia is now making over $4 billion.
Out of marijuana?
Yes. Tanzania, people who used to grow corn are now growing marijuana. It's changing poverty overnight.
Well,
but Gambians, I think we're too...
But look at what it's even doing to our prisons and how much money marijuana is taking from us. You see,
but
we,
how many
we
people,
have to think about
the same medical experts said marijuana is driving so many people crazy.
The point is,
how are we going to, if we legalize it, even though it's underground, as you said, people are getting crazy.
No, Mr. Cham, I think you have missed the point.
No,
I am not talking about I'm not talking about people who smoke.
But where will the difference come?
No. Today, if the Minister of Agriculture have a program, designate a big chunk of our land, somewhere between CRR or wherever, say, this is a marijuana belt. The farm produces, come harvest, there are people who come with this farm, cut the harvest, package it, put it in containers with sealed, meaning 1 kilo is not meant for local. And not only that, the farmer doesn't have an incentive to sell that marijuana locally, because if he sells it locally, he makes $50,000 a kilogram. If he sells it internationally, he makes $200,000 a kilogram. So why should he sell it locally? Because there is a market out there who wants it.
He will find ways of selling it outside by himself.
No, but my point is, if he sells it locally, he's making $50,000 a kilo. If he exports it, he's making $200,000 a kilo. Why should he want to sell it locally?
The issue now is, what are we going to do? Will that give us protection from our youth and everybody from getting into the habit of smoking it?
It's called mitigation. You see, when you create public policy, equally you should create mitigating circumstances. And it comes in form of education, it comes in the form of support, therapy and others. But you know what? In this world, I'll give you a simple example. We all promote tourism, but tourism has its vices, prostitution and drug abuse.
Which we are living
Do
with.
we have funds inbuilt in our tourist sector today to cater for these young girls standing out in the street prostituting themselves? No. So therefore
it has.
Well, everything you're going to do, Cham, has consequences. So you're going to...
That's quite interesting. Let's move now to another area in the budget, and that is health. Health has been said that we are spending, well, if you compare health, it's at 1.4 billion, and that is 5.7% of the revenue prepared. That is much closer to defense, etc. 1.4 billion, even though we have a lot of help assistance, technical or financial health. 1.4 billion. Does that tell you that the government is serious about providing drugs into our health centers or ambulances, or getting our doctors, onto the job, maintaining them and paying them well?
Okay. First, if you just look at the figure, it's misleading.
Okay, there you go.
Because in health and in education, there is a direct and an indirect cost. If you take the total amount, you look at it, it may be misleading for the simple fact that you are factoring in the vehicles that are driven by the Department of Health, the fuel, their travels. So that is not going towards directly into a hospital or a patient. Equally with education, we need to be mindful, because my analysis is what is directly going into a classroom, not the auxiliary support of driving education, but classroom per child.
What's improve the quality of the...
So, what we are seeing in health, it's big, but relative terms with defense, it makes our priorities once again misprioritized. Yeah? Because the health budget relative to the defense budget, it doesn't make that much of a difference. So are we putting our monies where our mouths are as a country? My answer is flat out no. Can we change that? My answer is yes. Well, I've heard that government want to start a universal health coverage, and they will start with the civil service. It's a brilliant idea, but there are things, precursors that need to happen before such a measure can come to place. One, it starts with a legislation,
which is not in place yet.
After the legislation, we need what you call health management information system that all private clinics plus government must have, so that when a Mr. X or Miss Y goes to any clinic, dispensary, health facility in the Gambia, even a pharmacy, they can just check who he is and what he is going to need or take. Then the system will not be abused. If not, another Lamin Cham who is not working for government can go to Malak as Lamin Cham who is working for government
and then get it.
and receive
So that's a database which will...
a health management information system. But I think our problems are bigger than this. What Gambia needs to first do is to have primary health care policy.
Which was here in place in the
Dawda Jawara's days,
in the 70s and 80s.
we wanted to make Gambians healthy before they become sick.
Prevention, it was
And preventive healthcare is cheaper than curative healthcare.
Yeah.
So, but all this happens when a government has a medium to long-term view and then break it down day by day, step by step. That's why I'm saying our budget on a fiscal year should be a part of a bigger scheme called medium-term expenditure framework, rather than us working year in, year out. But then we also need to educate our legislature to understand what we want and expect from them. And also, the new Public Finance Act should give a lot of independence to technocrats so that they will not fall victims to the political class. Because there is one thing I've seen in the budget, that is cash handouts to the poor and vulnerable in our society.
And that's on the health, isn't it? I was coming there.
Gambia cannot afford to borrow money and give to another poor person.
Let's clarify this. It is in the budget that the Gambian government will do an analysis, a survey of households which they feel are very poor, or perhaps they are earning less than 2,000. Is it a month or a year?
We don't know yet, because the minister is yet to elaborate.
And then they will consider giving those households, say, $5,000 a month. My biggest worry is, how will that work?
You cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot borrow to give. Therefore, it is more politically expedient than economically feasible. And this is my bone of contention.
In other words, the politicians want to cash in there to look for popularity, or just what we say, the policies, how is it called again? Populist.
In Senegal, they have what you call bourse familiale, meaning
scholarships,
funding for families.
For families.
But we are not Senegal, and it's a political tool.
It's a political tool.
It's a social tool that is very appetizing for politicians to use. And that's why we need a divorce so that the technocrats who are drafting and making budgets will not yield to any political pressure, but rather the interest of the greater good as it relates to our dalasis and bututs at all times.
So, Mustafa, the government finance minister is thinking of handing out cash, maybe on a monthly or yearly basis, to areas in Salikenyong who doesn't have money. How would you accept that?
That sounds cute.
Nyang is saying that that has a political connotation. The government or the president or the ministers, would see that we can score a big political point by giving out money. They would say we are the best government or the best president they can have.
Yeah, but I mean, all the discussions that we have from the beginning to now, I mean, those suggest that in fact politics is our problem. Taking decisions that one considers to be inconvenient to a number of people, or seems to be controversial on the surface, because these things are not even controversial, but they may seem to be controversial on the surface, and avoiding those to make easier decisions that will actually, in fact, ruin the economy. Because if you spend what you don't have, you go into debt. And the more debt you incur, the more problems you attract for yourself. So this is the problem. Now, if you are going to give cash to farmers, farmers may want that and they may give you a vote, but they may give you their vote. But in the end, we're going to put the country in a bigger problem than we found it in 2016. Remember, in 2016, the get to GDP ratio was about 130%. And when we came, Barrow and his guys, because everywhere they go, they will tell, oh, but your debt to GDP ratio, this is red flag. We can't give you a lot of money again. You can't have borrowing. So now what they devised was, let's rebase the GDP. Let's say, oh, the horticulture was not calculated before. Let's go and calculate it.
Or oysters.
Yeah, oysters. So they went and calculated everything. They calculated and they said, well, now the GDP is $93 billion. So you see, it's like...
You spread it, basically.
Yeah, you spread it basically. But if you look at the details, it's not like there was any sort of productivity that was going on.
Exactly.
It was like horticulture was not calculated before. Let's put it there.
Yeah.
And you calculate all these minor things that were here before. It's not like new additions. It's minor things that were not here before. You recalculate it, and then you say the debt to GDP, so that the debt to GDP ratio would have fallen down. So that Gambia looks appealing when it goes to look for fun and stuff like that.
Well, basically, you see, Ronald Reagan used to call it voodoo economics. These are quick fix.
He borrowed that from Benin over.
Yeah, these are quick fix to long-term structural issues. In 2017, when the government came, the first thing they did is reduce public borrowing by the Ministry of Finance in the form of T-bills. Automatically, interest rates went down because the appetite to borrow wasn't there. So government wasn't inducing the market. But if you look at budget 2020, in its nature, it's going to recall the need for public borrowing. And when public borrowing happens, here is the danger. The danger now, and this is very serious. We as Gambians, we always say we want private sector-led growth, private sector-led development. The government is killing the private sector by crowding out the economic space. What does that mean? It means the government of the Gambia is competing with private sector for cash funding in the economy. If you want to build your water plant, you need $100 million. There are less deposits at the bank when the government goes out to borrow to finance their budget. It does two things. Interest rate goes up. Then the banks will say, I want to be risk averse. Instead of giving my money to an entrepreneur and manage his risk, I will go and invest in what you call a risk-free instrument called treasury bill, and I go to sleep. So basically the banks are parking their money, just like when you park a car in a car lot. That is bad for the economy. We want the banks to be creative and take risk on entrepreneurs so that the economy grows. But government is helping the economy not to grow by competing with the financial sector for the cash, the little cash you have and he has, to go and make a deposit in the bank.
And you see, there is also another problem associated with it, because you see, when you are doing a private business, one of the things you want to do is to invest to expand your business. Businesses need to expand for more taxes to be paid, and government needs these taxes to survive, right? Now, if you, and government as it's customary in the past 2 years, last year we've seen it, you increase taxes a bit because you want to accommodate the huge appetite for government spending. So you are increasing taxes, you are taking money from private sector, the business are shrinking because the businesses don't have the required finance to expand. So you are killing private sector, you are killing business ability to expand. You are, as a result of your own greed also, starving your own self in the long term, because when business die, you don't get taxed.
You don't get taxed.
Well, that's another economic thought that a lot of economists agree on. There was a gentleman called Wilfredo Pareto. He says that our tax environment should try and make everybody better off without making no one worse off. So that's what you call the Pareto optimality. And today, our tax environment hasn't done that. Why? This is a tax-driven economy. And in a tax-driven economy, government relies on taxation to support its expenditures. And that is bad. So now, what the government needs to do as a policy is to start thinking how to raise non-tax revenue. And in raising non-tax revenue, it can be in the form of user fees. What is stopping the government of the Gambia in investing on Bond Road? Just Bond Road, all the way to the port. And state, from now on, any truck going to the port Inbound, $100, outbound, $600. Because when you're going outbound, you're taking something. That's not a tax. That's a user fee because you choose to use it or not. And there are many other things. Government can now say, because of the congestion between Sting Corner and Abuko, I'm going to make a bypass from Bond Road, which will stop at Joshua, which will stop at Cooperative, which will stop at Superbad, which will stop at Churchillstown, Ahmadiyya, all the way to Abuko. Then you join the traffic. If anyone wants to use it, you pay.
Like they have in Dakar.
So it becomes a bypass. And government needs to be creative in raising revenue. And government has been using the easy way out, and that is the enforcement of taxation because the law is on their hand. But there is what you call tax boarding. And when the tax boarding is high on the taxpayer, tax avoidance and evasion becomes a mean. So the general rule in economics is lower your tax rate and broaden your tax base. Then the informal sector will now come on board the formal sector. But in Gambia, most business,
you will tap more resources.
That's why in Gambia, most business operate under the informal sector. And that's what we need to change.
So you will see also that because of issues like that, so a lot of people, when a lot of businesses, Gambia government policy makers in a lot of instances are aware of some of these issues. Because there are economies like, in the system, there are more qualified people who see things from a different perspective. But they know things that, economists, like Nyang knows, for instance, or other guys out there. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not that they don't know. I think it's that they think this is inconvenient, and they think that this is a tougher work to do. What is easy is to sign a loan and ask them to build a road. And sign a loan.
No, it's the political encroachment on the technical space. You see, there is what you call political expediency. Political expediency is what suits a politician because they're time bound. They're here for a term. So they want things done. But a technocrat must have a medium to long-term view of the country and the economy. But we cannot be strange bedfellows as technocrats with the political class. But we need legislation that will protect the technocrats from being induced by the political class to do things the way they want it. Case in point, the Banjul project.
And I think also, this should be, it shouldn't even be a zero-sum game. If you look at it, for instance, the political class can actually make a case to the Gambian people to say, look, we found a broken system and we need to fix it. And to fix it, we will need to do the uncomfortable.
Thank you.
And this is what the uncomfortable entails, but clearly also explain what the benefits lie ahead.
Feature,
such that the people will also know what is happening.
In 1985.
Like the ERP. Even some of us were not alive at those.
You were not born.
I'm 1989, but the thing is, I got to read about it. So you could see even the likes of Sirif Sise said, Jawara said, well, okay, if this is what we ought to do, let's do it.
Which they did. And
you see, well. So this is the point. So
right, moving on now, and to summarize, of course, we're talking about where do you fit, and this may be related to the present, current, meet the people tour of the president. Even this meet the people's tour itself has come under criticism by people concerned with the amount of money that's spent on it. And then there was a related matter, like night allowance has been increased to $2,000, even though we got information that it won't come into effect immediately, like instantly. So that this meet the people's tour would not be affected by that. But what do you make of meet the people? So people said, shouldn't it be in such a way that one, it's not politicized, and two, it means less expenditure on the public funds? Mustafa?
Well, we'll start with one thing. The Meet the People's Tour, unfortunately, is a constitutional mandate as it is today.
It has to be done.
Meaning it has to be done. But equally, I think there has been violation of that very provision. The Meet the People tour is a tour that should be undertaken by the president to see the efficacy of public policy vis-a-vis the rural people, especially farmers.
Exactly.
So basically, it's a dialogue to listen to them. Then once he comes back to town, they can go back to the drawing board and fix some of these policies and make them better. But unfortunately, and this is very unfortunate, and it has nothing to do with this government.
It's been here before.
It's been, we inherited it from Jawara to date. They have used it as a political tool, and we the people must not pay for the president's politics. Let's make it very clear.
So Jawara, I remember, he will come to my village or come to there, and then people will talk about PPP, and he would have to respond. I remember when he came to Burford and people were talking about PPP, he had to say, yes, you know, when the PPP boxes come, you have to fill them. And many other places. Jammeh, of course, we know, took it to further heights. He in fact told them, like, if you don't vote for me, these developments you are talking about, I'm not going to do it. Now, we said we have now got a better government in 2017, but unfortunately, politics is still very much part of the tour. We had the president talking about nobody should come through the back door to the State House. I have done more developments in 3 years than Jawara and Jammeh. I have ambition to serve to 2021. And so many political
statements.
Statements were made there. So we are not even better.
So
how do we, as Nyang said, separate them or legislate in such a way that it's no longer going to be funded by us unless the president, whoever is, stops talking politics?
Thank God it's not in the draft for the new budget, constitution. So it's been scrapped.
It's been scrapped now.
Well, it's not there.
There will be no meet the people store anymore. Is that what you say?
I hope there will be something similar to that that will compel the president to meet the people, and then it's clearly defined.
I disagree.
We cannot get it clearly defined.
And it is unfair in such a way. The president, whoever the president was, Jawara Jammeh and now Barrow had in a year more opportunities to consolidate their political support than the opposition.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. The president was elected by the people of this country, whether it's in Banjul or in Fatoto. He is duty-bound as a politician to dialogue with them, whether it's virtual or physical. But it should not be mandated. If he wants a return in office, he knows what to do when the time comes. We don't want taxpayer funds to be used for someone's political advantage. Because once you do that, you're not leveling the political field. Case in point, I was going to Banjul. All government vehicles were commandeered. They're on a convoy, fueled by you and me. And they're not talking about policy. They're talking about their political...
people wearing president's collars.
Thank you. And our civil servants, most of them are out there making our government unproductive. So this is something that was bad, and we should not...
It was bad on the
It's certainly bad.
It was bad on the Jammeh. We thought we would be able to change it, but unfortunately, isn't that all the more reason people think that this government would have been better if they stick to their transitional agenda so that they don't have developed interest in politics? Because that's the only way they can really stop these things. But if the president is interested in getting power, he suddenly is going to ignore all these things because it won't do anything good for him if he's politically ambitious. So that's the problem.
So, well, I mean, if there had been any shift in the way we were operating, we would not have been talking about the deficiencies we've currently been talking about in the economy, in our fiscal policies, in the lack of inefficiency of our public enterprises paying for expenditure from State House, still ongoing. We will not be talking about it. You know that ports still paying for certain things.
Why would we just reduce it to the president going to regional capitals? But even that may not stop the politics.
That would not stop. That would not stop.
But it needs to be cheaper.
No, this is not about cheap. You see, I think Gambians need to be modern. Gambians need to do away with tradition, because wherever tradition is not good, you need to kill it and stop it. What we need is a modern state where all voters are equal, whether it's the one in Fatoto or it's the one in Fajara. and it's the responsibility of the politicians to address all voters. Is the president being told to come and meet the urban people?
He hardly, well, they said meet the people. Of course, he meet the people.
Yeah, but theoretically, the tradition then.
How many people does he meet? In the urban area?
Or goes with.
Yeah.
Let's stop the wastage and let's be serious about one thing. We're building a country. Building a country is a process, and the process is changing the identity of the people and the country. We have inherited a lot of bad things from Banku Tamo back in the days of colonial days that have slipped in through the cracks to Jawara, and Yaya Jammeh abused it, and the current system is still abusing it at the taxpayer expense. Therefore, Meet the People tour should be scrapped, and the president can wake up any day and today I want to go to Kuinala. Tomorrow I want to go to Diabugu. Then he goes, but when he goes there, let him not be politicking on our time. Let him be looking at the projects that are there and see how best to uplift the lives and livelihoods of those people at all times.
Okay. Mustafa, okay, what about the idea of increasing from, was it $600 per night or so to $2,000 for night allowances for treks, civil servants, so that certainly that would be popular with civil servants who often go on trek, isn't it?
Yeah, but all along that's what we've been talking about.
Is that part of disciplining, budgetary discipline, or is just from 600 to 2,000 per night?
So the thing is,
but can't it be argued now that rooms cost 500 to 700 in the provinces?
You see, I'm not an economist, but you don't need to be an economist to know that anything that takes from you, does not give you anything in return, drains you.
Yeah. But if I'm going to Mansakonko, for example, I leave my house. I want to go to Mansakonko because I'm there going there for the government, and I need to sleep at Kutas Lodge, which is $700 per night, or 500. Nothing would be left with me. I mean, I will definitely appreciate that, Nyang, isn't it?
Well, I think there's three things, and in a broader perspective, I will first start with per diems.
Yes.
What sense does it make for the government to pay me £200 and I go to Bissau and get a hotel for $80 or £60?
Okay.
So now, I'll start with per diem. We need to have what you call daily sustainable allowances based on geographic zones. So when I'm going to Switzerland, the government will pay me more relative to when I'm going to India. Or when I'm going to England, I will get more than when I'm going to Bissau. Then we don't have a fixed per diem. But not only that, the issue of per diem, we need to cut it out completely. Then we have what you call a card system, a credit card. Today I am traveling on behalf of the Ministry of Justice. I take this card. It's a Visa card. There are rules already set that you can pay a hotel up to $200. Each meal we're giving you $30, so mean you have $90 a day for your feeding. But because it's not cash, I charge the card and Ministry of Justice pays. It becomes a disincentive for me to travel. And that's the quickest way of cutting government travel. But still, you will travel because the reason why you were to travel was not to make money, but to attend a function. I will facilitate the attending of this function, but not making you make money in the process. Then on the issue of the local trekking allowances, up country is very tough. Hotel rooms are very far and few. Getting good food, I'm sorry if you're used to eating.
Especially if you go to Badibu.
Yes, it's very tough. Therefore,
it's tougher in Kia.
Therefore, what we need to do is very simple. Augment what we're giving people to make sure that there is funds for them to live not comfortably but adequately whilst they have been displaced, because it's an inconvenience to leave your house. We cannot pay you fully, but we can make sure that you live relatively
Okay, so you're saying that 2,000 is reasonable?
I think the most
pretty much so.
I think the most fundamental question.
And the good thing is they said it's not coming now, because the politicians have accused President Barrow of increasing it just to be in time with his store so that he can attract more civil servants.
How many times does the government lie to us?
So
there is no assurance that it's not paid now. We don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, the point is the most fundamental question we need to ask at this point is: we are in a crisis situation. Do we pretend that it's okay, or do we fix it? If we agree, we must fix it.
Yeah.
If you are in a crisis situation, you act like one.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to cut how much we take out, right? How much we spend.
Exactly.
We need to reduce it drastically, and we need to put money in productive areas, in areas that pays back.
Exactly.
Right? Now, if we are going to do that in the most basics of ways, at least even a non-economist knows vehicles that are taking so much fuel could be grounded. Like we've said, the Gambian government had a lot of fleet of vehicles that they said they were going to reduce.
Yeah.
Right?
They said
they didn't do that.
They
said they were going to reduce the tax.
SUVs.
Yeah. Which SUVs? They're still in operation. They still pick people when they come from the airport and they take them to.
Well, I think
maybe that's just to impress.
I think overall, Gambia needs what you call fiscal consolidation.
Okay.
We need to consolidate our fiscal architecture, our fiscal framework. I will start with one thing, and I do hope that the Minister of Foreign Affairs is listening. He has become a burden to this budget.
Yeah, okay, we were coming there.
And I will tell you why he is a burden to this budget.
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs has become a burden.
The ministry or the minister?
Well,
the minister
under
and the
his
ministry
purview.
are separate.
And I will tell you, the redeployment and firing of diplomats is too expensive to this country. Because if you hire me today, and I have to go with my family, you're talking about minimum 4 to 6 tickets. You're talking about rent to where I'm going to live. You're talking about furniture. You're talking about clothing allowance for me to get winter gear. Schooling. And what you call the difference, it's an equalizer or whatever because of the area you're going, based on our Foreign Service Regulation, the FSR. Now, when I go there, 9 months later you fire me or recall me. They call it a recall. And I come. You have to get me a container to pack all my stuff. I have to wait for my kids to finish school because it may be in the middle of the school year. You have to get me tickets to come back. And this has become a significant burden on the fiscal front. And the government needs to be mindful that we are not a rich country where someone's whims and caprices of not liking a certain diplomat should just warrant a recall.
And cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Therefore, we need to enlighten him.
How much has been budgeted for Ministry of Finance?
1.8 billion, I think.
1.8 billion. That's even bigger than defense.
Let me just verify. But I think it's 1.8 billion.
Than even defense, which we said didn't deserve what they got, or even health.
But mind you, there is something else that I want clarification from the Minister of Finance.
And that is?
The Minister of Finance, I want a clarification. We all know that budgets, especially in developing countries, have deficits. And the deficit is financed through borrowing.
Exactly.
Yeah? That is very clear on the budget. It's not ambiguous. They have stated it, that we have, let's say, 5.6 deficit. We know it. It's stated openly. But they have what you call budget support.
Okay.
You put $8.1 billion in terms of budget support.
All right.
I don't have a problem with the 8.1. But if those funds are not forthcoming, there's two things you can do. Revise your budget downwards. Or go back and borrow to finance that gap of 8.1. And we haven't seen a budget that has been revised downward this past 3 years. And we know that the budget support monies were not coming. So therefore, the effective deficit is the 5.6 plus whatever that was expected as donor support that failed to materialize. So I think the government need to be very clear, because for me that is an unauthorized expenditure in the sense that the parliament approved 8.1 billion as donor support. It didn't come.
income,
then the budget must have been revised downward by 8.1, or consequently any borrowing to add to that is unauthorized unless Parliament approves it.
So there we go. So that's very clear. Mustafa, finally, how much have been budgeted for MOFA, as they call it?
So MOFA, it's 1,015 million.
1 billion. 1.15 million.
Yeah. So it's 1,015.
So it's almost.
So, but also,
a big. I mean, the
it's a huge. Yeah, it's huge.
So, like you said, the money goes to some of these things.
So also, I mean, a discussion that in fact have gone on for a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, this was very prominent after the government takes over, and people were talking about the issue of government trying to curtail public expenditure. One of the most important things that were being discussed was how to rationalize our foreign missions.
Yeah.
Nyang was talking about how much you spend on
single
individual and a family. People were talking about how about, for instance, we reduce the number of foreign representations we have. We are in a crisis situation.
Yeah.
We look at strategic places, like if you are going to be in Senegal overseas, Mauritania, Mali, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, Guinea-Bissau, you may need to put someone there because it's so strategic, given that Jambes, Jongulas and all this stuff. The security situation, it's very strategic. But if you are going to have someone in America, a lot of people are telling you, oh, you need not have it in UN and at the same time US. Separate.
Yes.
Have one that serves both.
And you have one in
right?
European Union, and then you have
because
Spain,
you don't look at what supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You are look at what we can accommodate financially.
I mean, gentlemen, you've raised a very valid point. But see, diplomacy has changed from political diplomacy to economic diplomacy.
Yes.
And in economic diplomacy, that's where Gambia will yield dividend.
Exactly.
Today, if you look at our diplomatic footprint globally, it defies logic. I'll give you one simple example. United Kingdom, you have a chancery. France, you have one. EU at Brussels, you have one. In Switzerland, you have one. In Spain, you have one. 5 expensive locations within one single block that an ambassador can fly in from England to France in an hour, 10 minutes.
No. Flight is at 20 something.
No, I'm just saying, proximity-wise.
Yeah, okay.
So what we need is one central embassy in Europe with desk officers in some of these countries.
Yeah.
And if look at Rome.
Yeah.
Look, Gambia needs to be logical in its diplomatic footprint.
And just to use the proverbial cut our coat according to our
size. Even in some of these countries where the host is giving us space to stay, that's not the problem. It's just like what Jammeh did when we had the proliferation of schools in his early days, ADB funding schools.
Yeah.
There's one thing building a school, and there is another thing maintaining a school post-building. Teachers, textbooks, etc., etc. And it's the same scenario with our embassies. And we need to redefine our diplomatic footprint and re-strategize what is important to Gambia. But economic diplomacy must be at the front of what we're doing, not political diplomacy.
Right.
So we can shut down a lot of these embassies, and then still we reopen them in 5 years' time.
Good.
When we are doing well.
Well, thank you very much. And it's on the issue about our bloated diplomatic representation around the world that we're going to end this session that took especially a look at the budget 2020. Thank you very much, Mustafa Dabo of Kerfatu, and most particularly our subject specialist in the studio, Nyang Njie, an economist, for taking us through to those very important details about the budget. So, until we come back your way again, on behalf of Mr. Nyang Njie and Mustafa Dabo, we meet you next week. Goodbye for now.
waaw man maa ngi tudd Amath Sarr ñu gën ma xamee si Uncle Amath Creation dëkk Talini. waaw ñun ñu ngi yëngu ci business wàllum ñaw waaw ba pare ñu ngi jaay ay bagages ay pièces ay brodé ay til ay jesner ak ay accessories waaw bagage lépp loo xamante ne dafa feeñal taari jigéen daal both men's and women's daal ñu ngi siy yëngu daal ñu ngi jaayal góor yi ñu ngi jaayal jigéen parce que soo xoolee lu ma tiim ni yëpp ay bagages yi góor la ba pare ñu ngi am pièces yu rafet tamit pour góor yi waaw. waaw business bi lu ma si dugal man ñawkat laa woon dama jàngee am métier bi after ma ubbi suma atelier di ñëw ma am ay customers yoo xamante ni dama leen laan ñëwal waaye te man maa leen di jëlal pièce daal dama lay kool ama dama bëgg a ñëw ma dem marché jënd pièce ñëwal soo ma xalaat ne bala ma jaabante bi ak comme coono bu si lee nekk yëpp soo war a baax ma def lii moo xam dafaa yomb si man après dafaa yomb si customer bi tamit but moo ko dooree nag alhamdulilah loolu moo ma si dugal daal anyway. jafe-jafe yu fi am moom right now moom jafe-jafe yu ñu am mooy nawek but apart from nawek moom alhamdulilah because bu noonu door dinañ am difficulty because commencement liggéey moom loo si door rek du yomba so foog mu dem ba si kanam rek nga doog a mën a gis njëriñ. waaw fii nag ñun fi employé bari neen ñu fi nekk am nañ fi ay boys am nañ fi ay girls yoo xamante ni fii la gars yi di liggéey pour ma wax la lim bi xal naa topp tuuti nag fii moom ñu lay def business ak ñun bari neen mun nañ laa wax ne fii sax international la because ñu ñuy ñëwal abroad bari na ñu ñëwal Gambia bari na koo xalaat si dëkk bi dafa sansé lu rafet rek soo ko ne Uncle Amath jaar na fa góor ak jigéen yëpp si yëpp nañu yëngu. business bi gis nañ ko fu kawe in 5 years time foo xamante ni du fii yëpp fu ñuy waxee nii yëpp nekkul comme lu ñuy wax comme lu ñuy jëf la si kanam. waaw location bi Westfield ne nekk ñu si main highway bi waaw just opposite World Mobile business number si 3923 758 7923 758 suñu saajee Facebook Uncle Amath Creation dina gis suñu page bi. soo saajee Twitter Instagram YouTube everywhere soo taybee Uncle Amath rek di nga gis suñ liggéey daal di nga ko gis waaw place bi Uncle Amath Creation la xanaa ma jaajëfal leen yéen tamit Kër Fatou di kontaan ci yéen tamit bu baax seen liggéey rafet na trop lu ngeen di def si dëkk bi su ko ñeneen defee rek Gambia dina gën a jëm kanam ba pare maa ngi gërëm tamit suma customer si because mun naa ne lépp ñoom la fu ma àgga nii tey ñoom ñoo ma fa àggaloo because mun naa ne fu ma teg sax man àgguma fa den ma gëm tamit ma yaakaar trop te ñu ma support a lot après maa ngi gërëm tam suma famille bi maa ngi gërëm suma jabar gërëm suma sister si suma everywhere daal suma yaay maa ngi gërëm ñëpp daal gërëm tamit ñu ma fi nekkal suma apprentice yi ak ñu ma liggéeyal yëpp because déggal de ma te respecté ne bu baax amul benn difficulté daal si biir liggéey bi daal anyway.
noo lañ def ñooy ñëw ak yéen rek Skin Care Plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5 star jesna la 5 star jesna mooy jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee ñun rek si tube dara du doy day des not only dañoo tube but bu la neexee ñu tuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la. We're not all about skin. We are skin, care, and the plus does come in so many different ways.
No, ini bara. Okay.
Welcome.
Basically, lot of lala me along is cool, man. That I can really relax.
What the madam?
Yeah, that's
what the madam?
Yeah.
Let them do somebody.
That's right.
Grand Villa.
Grand Villa.
That's fine.
Slowly. Yes. No.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people are basically me along very relaxed. So it's basically that I can understand. It's very relaxed.
Ni la fa ni sewal. Nidia nena Grand Villa is the best guest house in the Gambia.
Mbeji andika Grand Villa Guest House. Na labungol bebe senyaring adum na bungol bebe nyarandiring coming ibela fila ila suwe taranyame. Until Grand Villa na kiliano la lafino wale mukangotin telkang. Na ye sabati Grand Villa yela kodo na fa kalamuta.
Oh man, this is like a paradise.
I know.
I so much love this place.
Yes, thank you.
Trust me, I love this place.
You can move somebody and you're watching what?
Yeah.
And you want to Gambia. Grand Villa.
I tell you. I love this place. Okay. I love this place, man. Oh yeah.
Ni leftan na kuo keso sotola. Futama Oljuntum Paradise Estate. Mbaya kumandiroke 7527218. Wale futan na website auto www.grandvillaguesthouse.com. Grand Villa Guest House.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Yaran yilla domoro kadiyata.
Boy, jannon CK's restaurant.
Sa nako be ninna dimbal. Nimba domoro kala janno.
Domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije. Luntan during tamala abeka domoro kijani. Adi manda wala de. Teka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa. E ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery. Iko fanan be kalele. Badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo pendin lon dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domo la jandama
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi sa nako sa futandi oto sa nako be mu CK's restaurant
ndaba na janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
na broda min ba Europe Mr. Conte nka bo wala kol kan sai na so ko na mano ban ta jabo ban ta tulo ban sai nka bo wala kol kan da ka ba official ko na ba dama bulo mutarin ba ka ta sintilano ko ba to ngane ta ya kuriyan ma ko do ban na ta mano sani tulo ne jam mun da be te la broda man balwo service kala mun service balwo service ni da foronte mo kala mun da a fe la broda ko abitala internet all aya ba site la woldo balwo.com na wo sajje a apu nga ba download la telephone lo na be sandiro to ni wal na be sidin ala office ko ndama manjar pura ta bank ko kodoki abe sidin office ko ro daminto ito message so telephone ko no e bitiko be Gambia dawda bitiko ba belo ko ta tano dawda yeta tempo tawo wodama yala bari wa service na kamol da kan matanyo le kan pija na bro dan ka ko matanyo ayo ko pija
balwo service dinkirala jampo o manken na kolaya ko balwo service al demano kaje ko ale domor feŋol sang alla dimbaya moli ana lakkanun tewol wato bela ani wat sudum fanan kono balwo service la dinkiralu ani la do kunyolu e be banko karo beto kabirin katon fo koyna nalla fa ko ku koton soro balwo service la kolto ali komandi telephone la no la milbuko 9400213 7694319 wala 3192870 wala hankabi alta internet oto alila kolu jibe www.baluwo.com.
Do you live abroad and want to build your dream home in the Gambia without risking your funds and family ties? Do you want a household name that is trustworthy and efficient? A name that will continue to give you updates on the project from the beginning to the very end with videos and pictures? If your answer is yes, then worry no more. Boss Construction and Asset Management is here for you. If you live outside the Gambia and want to build your dream home, then this is ideal for you. Just reach out to Boss Construction and let's start building the dream home into a reality. With Boss Construction, the difference is clear. We give you value for money. Some of our services includes the following: construction management, building equipment rentals, rent management, purchase and leasing, asset management, and many more. For more information, please contact 282-4945. Better still, send us an email, bossgambia@gmail.com, or you can also visit our website on www.bossgambia.com. Boss Construction, a name you can trust. Boss Construction and Asset Management, keeping families together.